It's Wednesday, March 30th, and this is now on HNN.
I'm scared that something might happen to me.
There are reports of another spike in Asian American hate crimes in several major cities. A Hilo couple files a restraining order against the Flash actor Ezra Miller following his arrest.
Just as we reached a critical turning point in this fight,
President Biden receives his second COVID vaccine booster.
Congress has to provide the funding America needs to continue to fight COVID-19.
These stories, plus the Hubble reveals the most distant star ever detected. We'll learn all about it coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon. Thank you for watching. This Is Now. Ashley is back in the house with us today on this halfway through the work week. Got to get started with this live picture taking you live outside to the airport. You can see an aircraft on the runway right now as we speak. So if you've got spring break or summer vacation plans, there's a good chance the airport experience may look a little different.
That's right. That's because many airports are undergoing major renovations. And this morning, NBC's Tom Costello is getting an exclusive look at Delta's new terminal at Los Angeles International, the country's second busiest airport.
Spring break and a notoriously beat-up Los Angeles International is looking like one massive construction project. New bridges, new parking, new terminals, a new tram system coming soon.
Passengers for Delta Flight 1393.
Now, Delta Airlines is preparing to open a brand new LAX terminal, just as Americans are putting the pandemic behind them and catching a flight to anywhere. Delta's CEO says, don't expect an empty middle seat.
We'll see this month probably the strongest sales we have ever seen. Ever? Yeah, it's a massive amount of sales coming in the door.
Delta took advantage of the pandemic slowdown to speed up its LAX construction project. New ticket counters and kiosks, 14 new TSA lanes, a brand new concourse coming soon, and new baggage sorting systems. And a big upgrade for anybody with club access, an outside deck, a retractable roof, a bar. And look at the view, the runway, Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and Bel Air. LA Airport CEO Justin Urbachi. First impressions matter for a city, right?
Absolutely. The airport is the first impression and the last impression that people get when they come to a city.
LAX is just one of many airport facelifts and redesigns nationwide. Seattle's SeaTac, overhauling its central terminal, international hall, and concourses. Denver International, upgrading the Great Hall, new check-ins, TSA checkpoints, and expanded concourses. And all three Big Apple airports. A new Terminal A at Newark and an eventual air tram replacement. A new International Terminal 1 at JFK Airport. And big upgrades to Terminals 4, 6, and 8. Perhaps the most needed and biggest airport overhaul, New York's LaGuardia Airport. A brand new Terminal B for American, Southwest, JetBlue, and United, while Delta gets a new Terminal C. Is this something customers are demanding? Do they want a better travel experience, a better airport experience?
Well, they deserve a better airport experience, and by the way, so do our employees.
All right, joining us now is Dr. Irina Crook of Kaiser, Hawaii. She is going to be headed to the Ukraine region to help with relief efforts. Doctor, can you go ahead and explain exactly what you're going to be doing?
So when the war started, I contacted several organizations. One of them was Men Global, who was collecting supplies. And then one of my former medical residents was working for an organization called Rescuers Sans Frontières, and I would be working on aid station on Meduka crossing, and it's a biggest crossing between Poland and Ukraine, and I will just do what's needed. Just yesterday I cleared all the credentials and I have my shift scheduled.
What do you think is going to be needed? What are you expecting to come across?
I think any type of medical emergencies, small and big, are real emergencies when there is a lot of people crossing at the same time. I think that we will see everything from heart attacks from the stress, fleeing your country to hypertensive crisis, to scrapes, to infections, to burns, and possibly even wounds. I think what we're going to see, it's the biggest refugee crisis in this century. By now, 4 million people are crossing the border. 2 million of them crossed into Poland. This is the biggest area. People in tents, people cold, hungry, didn't sleep for days. Any chronic medical conditions will become worse. People stressing, where is the next meal coming from? Where are they going to sleep? Getting sick in mass conditions of sleeping on the cots together in the big areas. And then I would like to forget, but COVID's still there. So I think we will see all of that. I work as physician for 34 years now, and I've worked in small emergency rooms, in hospital settings, in islands, in island hospitals. I think I am well equipped to take care of this.
And as for your family and friends back at home, what are you hearing from them? What are the stories you're hearing from Ukraine?
My family, and it is a hard and personal question for me, my family did not want to leave. They did not believe the war will start. They flee initially to Western Ukraine, and then with millions of other people, they crossed the border. My mother is 81 years old. They're safe now, and I talk to them every day, and they're crying, and they want to go back home. They don't know what to do next. They're completely lost. When you cross the border, there is this rush that you run in from the war. But when you get there, there is this whole unknown. How are you going to eat? Where are you going to sleep? And there is a lot of generous people. But then there is a bigger picture that you don't have anything set for you, anything for the future. You don't know. And this is a big burden, not only for me, but for so many families now. This is so much bigger than just my family. And we need to help them all as much as we can.
Irina, what would be the message you want to get out to anyone watching this interview here in Hawaii or across the nation?
I would like you to think about Ukraine. I would like you to think that your help is needed, not only today, but for months and for years to come. I would like you to stay tuned to this news of human disaster. Still be generous, because I believe that we get sensitized to news repeated over and over, and it becomes just another piece of news. I know Ukraine needs your help. I know we will need your help for years to come. But Ukraine is strong. I'm so proud of my people. Please stand with Ukraine.
Dr. Crook, thank you so much for joining us today on This Is Now.
There has been another alarming rise in Asian American hate crimes in several major cities. The recent high-profile incidents have many Asian American women living in fear. Amara Walker has more.
3 young Asian American women living and working in New York City.
Don't even think about it.
3 friends who are unwittingly bonded by their encounters with hate.
Because when you're being attacked like that, it feels so lonely. And it feels like if people don't do anything, that they're agreeing with it.
32-year-old Amanda She says she's been verbally harassed several times by complete strangers since the start of the pandemic. Each time, she's relived the trauma of when she was followed by a man yelling racial obscenities at her.
He kept following me for a whole block. And then this man, he came up next to me and he was like, "Do not worry, I'm right here with you. I'm gonna walk you straight there." And I couldn't thank him in the moment, but oh my God, I'm so grateful he was there.
I was just thinking about so many times that's happened to me this past year.
There's empathy amongst these women because they know what it's like to feel dehumanized, to be targeted as Asian American women.
It's the stereotypes around Asian women that make us more likely to be hunted, right? We're supposed to be submissive, we're obedient, and there's hypersexualization around us as well.
She started aggressively walking towards me. And
25-year-old Ann Kim says last March, she was leaving her friend's apartment in Manhattan's Upper West Side when she was accosted and forced to seek safety in the building's lobby.
Even having your mask on or other clothing on, I was targeted. A woman came towards me saying, "You Asian bitch, I'll kill you, I'll chop your head off." And she kept saying it as she started approaching me.
Carolyn Kang, an actress and activist, wrote about her encounters on social media. She says a stranger screamed at her on the subway in 2020, blaming her for the pandemic. Then 3 months ago, this happened.
I was walking in Brooklyn, and suddenly, as I was walking past these two men, one of them punched me. They started screaming at me made-up Asian words.
All of these attacks were unprovoked, these women say, just like the others that made headlines in the past year. A 67-year-old Asian woman in Yonkers, New York, beaten and punched more than 125 times. The suspect allegedly called her an Asian bitch. Michelle Go pushed to her death in front of an oncoming subway train in Times Square by a man who is reportedly mentally ill. 6 Asian American women killed in a spa shooting spree in Atlanta. Not all have been deemed hate crimes, but with major cities like New York and San Francisco reporting a steep rise in anti-Asian hate crimes, Asian Americans are living in fear, especially Asian American women. According to Stop AAPI Hate, a coalition that tracks incidents against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, nearly 2/3 of the reports came from women between March 2020 to December 2021.
Over 74% of the respondents said that they had experienced some kind of discrimination or harassment in the last 12 months.
Even a member of Congress, Grace Meng, isn't immune to this reality.
I try not to go anywhere alone.
Why?
I'm scared that something might happen to me, and we are equally, if not more, afraid of things that might happen to the most vulnerable in our community, our grandmothers and our mothers. These are the folks that have come to this country and sacrificed so much, and now they're being attacked and killed.
In the meantime, Carolyn avoids the subway when she can.
I'm making sure that my back is against the subway wall or standing right next to a pillar so that no one can come and push me into the tracks.
They were luckily there to open the door for me.
And while Anne remains hyper-vigilant,
I have asked strangers to walk me home.
Amanda is dreading the warmer weather.
Everyone's like, spring is here, and part of me's happy, but part of me's so anxious to be shedding these layers and letting my features show.
A Hilo couple has now filed a temporary restraining order against the Flash actor Ezra Miller after they reportedly paid $500 to bail him out of jail. Miller was arrested Sunday for disorderly conduct and harassment at a bar on Silva Street in Hilo. The husband and wife whom Miller had been staying with claimed the 29-year-old threatened to kill them and also stole a wallet and passport. And there's some entertainment sites out there reporting new today that Miller had some run-ins with police and bars in Chinatown on Oahu several days prior to the incident in Hilo. On the flip side, there are also social media posts out there showing Miller smiling and taking pictures with fans in recent days on the Big Island. President Biden got his second booster shot today. He's also pushing Congress for more funding.
But now, just as we've reached a critical turning point in this fight, Congress has to provide the funding America needs to continue to fight COVID-19. We're already seeing the consequences of congressional inaction. The monoclonal antibody, take monoclonal antibodies, for example. They've helped save lives. This isn't partisan, it's medicine. But Congress hasn't provided enough money to keep purchasing these monoclonal antibodies. We've had to cancel planned orders and cut the supply we're sending to the states.
Thousands are expected at the Hawaii Hotel and Restaurant Show today and tomorrow. Casey Lund has a sneak peek.
Yeah, some 200 different booths, 112 different vendors here at the Hawaii Convention Center. And even though this show isn't open to the general public, it's still a really big deal that it's back, especially as some of our small local businesses are finding ways to do business more efficiently. That even includes operating with fewer people. Some of the ways companies are gearing up to provide those staffing alternatives, robotics. We featured some of the latest tech on Sunrise this morning, capabilities that even caught me by surprise.
Here you go, here you go, here you go. I told you.
Originally, Richard C. and the team he's built at Hawaii Robotics were a beef distribution company that served markets like Japan and China. Working in those nations, he realized how far we are behind in robotics. They wanted to bring some of that innovation here. He says they're ready to serve restaurants and hotels in Hawaii right now.
Are we already starting to see that here in Hawaii?
Yeah, we can do it right now. Yeah, we can bring in all these machines next month for all the business owners.
And for many businesses that are considering adding AI and automated workflows to their operations, it couldn't have come at a better time.
Robots is a huge one. I think everybody's trying to figure out how could we be more efficient and get the same amount done with maybe less team members.
Leaders in the restaurant and lodging industries say this show is a big step in the right direction when it comes to revitalizing tourism in Hawaii.
And I think it's the right time since we're opening up. We're looking forward to international travel coming back. And today is a statement that big structured meetings can be held in Hawaii safely and effectively.
That's reporting at the Hawaii Convention Center. I'm Casey Lund for Hawaii News Now.
Casey having fun with all those robots out there. They look pretty cool. All right, gonna take you live outside. Gonna take you live via our tower traffic cam, and looking pretty blue in the skies right now. Let's turn it over to Guy Hoggy with an update and a sneak peek at your weekend forecast.
We're expecting a light trade wind breeze, light enough that we'll likely get some afternoon clouds and some afternoon showers. But not to worry, that's just a temporary thing today, because by tomorrow, at least in the afternoon tomorrow, we're expecting those winds to pick up. And then as we head into the weekend, they're expected to be quite strong Saturday and Sunday, 15 to 30 miles an hour, likely with some stronger gusts. And then as we head into the early part of next week, they start to slow down again. Mahalo for the picture of Kauai from Willie Mauna Willie. It's my friend. You guys know him, huh? Anyway, a few afternoon showers today because of those slow winds. And then overall, though, lots of sunshine, at least the first part of the day. And then tomorrow, trade winds pick up speed. We'll have a few windward and Mauka showers with partly cloudy to mostly sunny skies. And again, very windy on Saturday and Sunday. So if you're going fishing, plan for some rough conditions.
All right, new at noon, we got something fun for you, a topic we always like talking about here on This Is Now, space news and innovation. Joining us now from Baltimore, Brian Welch from Johns Hopkins University. Brian, what is up today?
So the big news that we have today is that using the Hubble Space Telescope, we've been able to detect the light from an individual star that's within the first 900 million years of the universe. So we're seeing the star as it was about 12.9 billion years ago. And it's really far out there, and it's a really exciting discovery.
And what are the implications here? What does that mean for scientists?
So we know that the universe way back nearly 13 billion years ago looks quite a bit different than the universe that we have around us today. So the galaxies that we've seen at that time look very different, and we know that there are fewer heavy elements around. So we know that stars are likely going to look very different as well. So with this one, we get a new window into learning about how the universe looks at this early time. And we get to study it in great detail, which is very exciting.
So what specific, give me some details. When you say you discovered, see this star so far away from so long ago, what are you actually looking at?
Yeah, so what we're actually looking at is we're using a technique called gravitational lensing. So a very massive cluster of galaxies in the foreground actually seems to bend the light from the background object. So just like when you're looking through a glass lens, the light comes past this heavy object and bends and focuses so that we're actually able to see a much more magnified version of the background object. And in this case, the star itself is magnified by a factor of thousands. So it still looks like a very small, faint, fuzzy blob in the Hubble image, but we're able to determine based on the magnification that it is an individual star at this tremendous distance.
And I got the CNN push alert today when this news broke, so it's big international news. And I just wanted to say, Hubble is getting up there in age. How is this thing still going?
Yeah, the Hubble telescope is doing great. It's for a 32-year-old telescope, it's still doing phenomenally well. We've got a really great team of people working on it, and they keep it healthy, they keep it going, and it continues to make great discoveries, and we expect it to continue to make discoveries for years to come.
So what is next with your guys' research? What are you looking to find?
So with this star in particular, the next step is going to be to observe it with Webb. So Webb gives us a little bit more of a view into the infrared wavelengths. So we're able to see a broader range of the light that's coming off of this star. And with that, we'll be able to get a better sense of what the temperature of the star is and thus what type of star it is. And we'll also be able to start to dig into what the composition of the star is. So how many of those heavier elements there are, and really start to understand how it formed and how these early stars came to be.
And Webb being the brand new telescope everyone's talking about, just real quickly, give us some details on that and what it means.
Yeah, so the Webb telescope is a really awesome new telescope that's a much larger mirror than the one that Hubble has. So the Webb mirror is about 6.5 meters across, whereas Hubble was about 2.5 meters. And it operates in the infrared. So it's sort of a new wavelength range that we didn't really have access to with Hubble. So the two telescopes together are really going to be able to give us a really great view into the universe. And it's going to be a really exciting time getting to use them both.
Brian Welch, thanks so much for being with us here at This Is Now.
Yeah, thank you.
Love me some space news.
Oh, yeah, always.
Yep, let's see what else the interweb is talking about today. This story's super cool. Let me get the video rolling so you can see it. Check this out. 2 flamingos that escaped from Kansas at a zoo there. A storm 17 years ago. One of them spotted on the coast of Texas. The African flamingo is known, or the flamingo known as 492 because of the number on his leg band, was captured on video this month near Port Lavaca, Texas. Officials were able to make out that number in this video and confirmed that that was the bird. They escaped way back in 2005 from a zoo in Wichita. This one has been spotted in several states, Wisconsin, Louisiana, and Texas, while the other one was never seen again. Real quickly, that reminded me of our own zoo escapee. Remember this guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This was at the city zoo, the African ground hornbills that escaped back in a storm in 2019. Also, like the flamingos, one was recaptured, one never seen again. That's some classic video from
What
nature.
was his name? Najuma?
Najuma and Martha.
Oh,
Martha's still with us.
Najuma.
Martha's still with us. And it also reminds me of one more zoo escapee from here on Oahu. The Wallabies,
yeah.
our favorite, the
I love
Wallabies.
him.
They came to Oahu in 1916, not 2016, 1916. Then a pair escaped from a private zoo. You know what they did? They started multiplying, and now we have a population, some say, of more than 100 wallabies in the Nu'uanu and Kalihi Valley area.
Yeah.
What'd you
Look at
find?
'em. So this week's issue of People magazine focuses on the controversial slap at the Oscars. Now, the big cover headline reads, "Shock at the Oscars, the slap, the speech, and what happened behind the scenes." If you missed it, Will Smith walked on stage, slapped presenter Chris Rock after the comedian joked about Jada Pinkett Smith's hair, and she suffers from alopecia, an autoimmune disease which can cause patchy hair loss. Now, the issue hits newsstands Friday, and meanwhile, the Academy of Motion Pictures and Arts and Sciences sent a letter to its members saying it's upset and outraged by Smith's behavior.
I said it yesterday, but today, can that please be our last story on this on the smack, please? All right, that's going to do it for This Is Now. Ashley's back at first at 4 on KHNL. You don't want to miss that. Have a great afternoon, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Aloha.